Are you afraid to use charcoal pencils? If you are, then you are not alone, because I can say that lots of portrait artists find charcoal pencils very intimidating, especially when you are doing realistic portraits. Sometimes charcoal pencils can be just expressive and more loose, but for realistic portraits, it can be a little bit difficult to use compared to graphite pencils. But yeah, but I think you need to give charcoal pencils another try, especially using this particular brand that I use and I love to use. This one is the General's charcoal pencil, and this is the only charcoal pencil I know with grades in it. That's why you can be able to achieve realism without worrying about charcoal pencils or charcoal being too dark, unblendable, very messy to use. Are you familiar with all those things that can be said about about charcoal pencils in general? But this one, the generous charcoal pencil, is something that's solved. It seemed to solve all those, problems or all those bad things that artists find whenever they use charcoal pencils for realistic portraits. But I don't bash charcoal pencils in general. I only understand artists in realism who find charcoal pencils very hard to use. Unlike graphite, where you can achieve realistic portraits with graphite pencils because they are neat, but sometimes graphite can have limitations in terms of darkness, in terms of contrasts that only charcoal pencils can provide. But um, generally, charcoal pencils are more, into more expressive and a rough kind of portrait. But in realism, yeah, it can be done, but it's quite hard and intimidating. And I know that a lot of artists feel that way with charcoal pencils. But this particular brand that I'm using and that I love to use over the years, the General's charcoal pencils, is kind of like different and kind of like give us the opportunity to select the grade and the tone. I know that with charcoal pencils, what a lot of artists say is that whenever they want something light, for the skin tone, like light tones, it seems very difficult to achieve all those light tones because generally the charcoal pencils can only give super dark contrasts and shadows for the portrait. That sometimes if you want something light and something that captures the emotion and the light and the realism, sometimes charcoal pencils cannot provide all those things. But with this drawing, as you can observe right here, it has the all the good things of a regular charcoal pencil, which is you can apply it directly on paper, unlike you don't need to use charcoal powder, and at the same time it can provide all those contrasts, the darks. But at the same time, what's important with this generous charcoal is that it has the grades for achieving light tones. That I know a lot of artists want light tones for charcoal pencils, and they can seem to find that on other brands. But here you have the 2B. I used a while ago for my base tone. I have the 2B, which is really light, and you can see his skin tone right here. It's quite dark. That's why I use here the 4B, because in her face the sunlight is like on her face. That's why it has more light, and then her shadow, I think, is what covers his face. That's why it's a little bit dark right here. So you can achieve the darkness that you want in his face by using 4B. So on her face, mostly 2B. But what's good, even if his face is quite dark right here, there are some parts and portion of the face which is considerably lighter. Like as you can see in his forehead, that's quite light. So I use the 2B on that. So can you imagine a charcoal pencil that you can achieve different tones? You can achieve light tones, you can achieve mid tones, and at the same time you can achieve very dark tones. As you can see on part of the coat, in between them, that's super dark. That is done with the 6B of the generous charcoal, and you can see the contrast, right? You can see that there are some parts that are extremely dark. Like here, you can see I'm drawing his hair, and usually charcoal is a very quick medium to use, but sometimes you cannot achieve the super detailed work with charcoal pencils. More of like more expressionist and or impressionist type. But this one, you can achieve and do even realistic hair. How hard it is to draw wavy hair. But here with charcoal pencils using different grades, 2B, 4B, and the 6B, you can achieve the depth of the dark shadows of the hair, the light shadows of the hair, and it's very easy to erase compared to some brands that I've tried which are very hard to erase for your highlights. So look how quick I did his hair with this generous charcoal pencil. I'm not a promoter or something, a sponsor. It's not a sponsored video for Generous, but this is a lifesaver of a pencil. Whenever I want something quickly, portraits, this is two heads, and I did it in just like more or less 6 hours. So it's so quick. If you want something realistic and quick and expressive at the same time, and at the same time you can capture the emotion of the drawing, and you can achieve dark, you can achieve light, unlike graphite, which is limited in terms of the darks or the contrast. But here is something that is really nice and very enjoyable to use because it's quick. What can be more enjoyable for a realistic portrait to be quickly done? I know a lot of you don't have patience of hours and hours of building skin tone, and then um, you want something like a charcoal pencil, but sometimes it cannot provide you with all the neatness. Imagine a charcoal which is not messy. You can just apply and layer directly on paper. Very easy to blend. If you want something smooth, you can brush like you just using a soft brush. You can just blend it and make it smooth. But for this drawing, I don't want it to be fully blended. I still want some pencil strokes because I just want it to look more like artistic and expressive, even if it's more on into a realistic style. So I really enjoy it. As you can see, I can achieve all these super dark tones on the dress, but I want to keep her face lighter because of the sun. I think this is a sunset, if I'm not mistaken. If you are familiar with the movie, this is, I think, a sunset or early morning because you still have a subtle sunshine on her right face right here. So the contrast is slowly building right here. So if you are afraid of using charcoal pencils, you must give it another try using this generous charcoal pencil. It's very flexible. Unlike the charcoal pencils that you have tried that traumatized you because it's messy, it's hard to blend, it has this annoying blocks of layers that you can't seem to blend even if you use different kinds of blending tools. But this one is something, yeah, you can play around right here. So easy to draw backgrounds, large parts of the portrait, and imagine realistic portraits on a considerably lesser time and effort. So I just love this pencil. That's why even if I'm not sponsored by this pencil, I still recommend this to everyone because it saves my life. It gives me the opportunity to create like this one, two heads. How hard it is to draw one head, but two heads with lots of details, with lots of contrasts. Imagine doing this in a lesser time, and yeah, it's really very effective in capturing all this beautiful moment in this iconic movie right here. I'm so happy. And if you are afraid of charcoal, then you don't need to be afraid right now because you can just try to use this generous charcoal pencil and achieve this kind of portrait. And imagine using this on your commission portraits so quickly, so effectively, and so realistic right here. So thank you so much for watching this simple video right here, and I hope that you learned something, and I hope next time you don't need to be afraid of using charcoal pencils in doing realistic portraits. So here it is. Thank you so much, and see you on the next video.